In the Bible, Israel is not a place, because there is no such place as Israel in the Bible. Israel is a person, and the other name for Israel is what? Jacob. So same way when you go into the Quran, you see it is Jacob, Israel. So they call them children of Israel, children of Jacob.
Yeah.
So there is nowhere in the I've challenged people with that before, that if you can find a place called Israel in the Bible, yes, show me.
It is another morning today. We welcome us once again to another edition of our program. And today we are going to be looking at issues around the world, especially the Middle East and the war between Iran and Israel. Inshallah, to discuss that with us in the studio today is one of our own engineer, the software developer, Malam Idris Akon. He is a special commentator and with special interest in the Middle East issues. So we say thank you once again for coming on the show today, Mr. Idris.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
So, engineer, we looking at the development in the world today. Before, what we are having is the issue between the Israel and the people of Palestine, the killings, the forceful taking over of house and land of the people of Palestine. Why we are still trying to wrap our head over how do we go from here? The new development, we saw Israel firing missile into Iran, and with the just basis of possible suggestion that if they believe Iranian are enriching more than they should in terms of uranium to acquire nuclear weapon. So what exactly is Israel looking for in that region? Already they have a land they took from the people of Palestinians. They are killing children, women every day without any respect for the proper principle of war. Now, Lebanon, they are taking lands in Lebanon, they are killing people in Lebanon. They've expanded into the just take over Syria. Now Iran, what exactly are they looking for? What exactly is Israel, backed by the almighty Americans, what exactly are they looking for in this Middle East?
Okay, thank you very much. Like you rightly mentioned, what is Israel looking for in Iran? Due to the several other places we've found them in the past 75 years. 75 years, because we understand all this started with the creation of the
Israel
state of Israel in 1948, and it has been going on and on. We should understand that the primary focus for Israel at this moment is actually Gaza, Palestine at large. However, they have successfully taken out every form of support from the resistance in Palestine, except in Iran.
Okay.
So hence one of the first need to get on the way of Iran as well and take them out. Okay. So if they are able to take out Iran, besides every other reason they might be doing that to take on Iran, with the bombing of their nuclear facility, the so-called preemptive attack, when Iran is gone, then Hamas and the resistance in Palestine at large will have no other support base than to deal with themselves alone. And yes, that will give them more edge give Israel more edge over the resistance. But for now, the accusation is that Iran is arming the resistance in Palestine, which is the more reason why they are finding them difficult to defeat.
Okay. So it is safe to say that Israel is trying to win the war from the source. That it is said that the Iranians are actually supporting the Houthis of Yemen, they supporting the Gaza, the resistance in Gaza, also the Hezbollah from Lebanon. So now they're actually taking this take it from the source. Let us get rid of Iran, and then so that we can possibly take over the whole of. So what happened to the two-state solution?
Okay, the two
if that is that not enough,
yeah,
for them to say, okay, we've gotten some part of the land that we needed in Palestine, then we are good.
That is the most interesting part of it, and which so many people do not realize. Unfortunately, we are going by political correctness, because the truth of the matter is this: if you followed the trend since the very creation of Israel, Israel does not have a plan for a two-state solution.
Okay.
It's just an excuse to make them to present them as though they want that which is good. But every accusation Israel has pointed at every other person is actually what Israel intends to do. The Israeli goal is actually to take over the whole of the Palestinian lands.
Okay.
And this is quite evident from the history back from 1948 when we had the Arab-Israeli war, when they expelled over 500,000 Palestinians, up to 1956, the Second Arab-Israeli War, and up to 1967 when they took more land. I think the Sheba Farms, the Sinai, and the likes of it. So, yeah, till 1973 when they were trying to reclaim the land, the Fourth Arab-Israeli War, up to this very day. And if we recollect, Oslo Accord was one of the closest the world would have gotten to get the world got to get a two-state solution, which agreed that this two-state solution was going to be actualized based on the 1967 border, not even based on 1948 border. So as at Oslo Accord in 1993-94, there was a concession being made by the Palestinians that okay, even all the lands Israel has taken, occupied from 1940 to 1967, we are ready to do away with them. Let us have a two-state solution. At that point in time, the connection between the West Bank and every region within the Palestinian land was still close to each other. So, unfortunately, unilaterally, Israel backed out of the agreement few months to actualizing the two-state solution. And ever since that time, that was what led to the birth of the resistance in Palestine, to the armed resistance. Before that time, it was always political method to get the two-state, but they realized that okay, these people are not ready to give it to us. So in such case, Israel wants from the ab initio has always wanted to have the whole land to themselves. However, what they present to the world is that it is because of the resistance, terrorism that they are not doing this. But what with the look of things, even going as far as taking lands in Lebanon and taking lands in Syria. So this is the way we are, and they are taking their time to do that. And you continuously see expansion of settlements coming every time. People don't even understand what a settlement means. They feel yes, it's an Israeli living on a land. No, settlement is a land owned by Palestinian that was taken over by an European or an American who decides to settle in Israel and takes a land belonging to a Palestinian. And from that time from that time moving forward, it doesn't belong to the Palestinian again. So it begins to settle and it becomes our own.
So the one of what we need to really get is for social the interest of the social commentators, people who are talking on different social media platforms, putting their view on the Israeli Palestinian war now to Iran, and where exactly were they coming from to have said that okay, well, let us settle them now in Palestine? It's like people don't even understand that Israel, we have two things to deal with now. There is Israel in the Bible, which is like a race of people. Now Israel, a state, or let's say a country, to be created. At what necessitates creating a country for some? It's like saying that the Yoruba people in Nigeria now wake up one day and say, okay, oh, we want to create a Yoruba country. So therefore, now that we are in the country called Nigeria, let us chase out the Igbos, let's chase out the Hausas, for us to now be able to now say Yoruba. Because when people talk like Israel as a country, people don't even know what led to Israel coming to a state. Where are they coming from? Where were they before now?
Yeah,
Before
before 1948, Israel existed. Israelis, Jews generally, they existed in the whole of Europe, and that was what led to the action for some whatever reasons he saw then. I mean Adolf Hitler, with the intent to exterminate them as the claim was brought. So they existed in Europe, they spread around Europe, Poland, Romania, Russia, Germany, France, they were everywhere. So they never had a particular state. Coming back to the name Israel again, In the Bible, Israel is not a place, because there is no such place as Israel in the Bible. Israel is a person, and the other name for Israel is what? Jacob. So same way when you go into the Quran, you see it is Jacob, Israel. So they call them children of Israel, children of Jacob. So there is nowhere in the I've challenged people with that before, that if you can find a place called Israel in the Bible, yes, show me. Somebody did a search and did, you realize that, yeah, I told him that you've been doing this, you've been in this for a very long time. You do not even realize that this Israel is even against your own ideological belief as a Christian. Because they never existed as a place, they existed as a people. They are children of a person. The name of a person is Israel. But in 1948, when they were looking, because there are several attempts of a land for them, so they resolved that, okay, the promised land, as in the scripture, is in Jerusalem, around that region. So where people were already living there, the Palestinians were there. So prior to that time, we had skirmishes of Jews living in Palestine, but not as a majority, because majority of them were in Europe. Because Palestine, there was a not a place of commerce that the whole world wants to see. It was just a regular piece of land that people were living. So until when they moved into Palestine, yes, they started the state of Israel. So however they concluded to name the land Israel, yes, it's just the new creation that started in 1948. So, but Israel never existed before, not as a place, not as anything. The land existed as Philistine, Bethlehem, Jerusalem. Those are everything. You will never find a place like Israel in the Bible.
Because we need to enlighten, like, most people in Nigeria, you see most pastors and everybody will say, oh, let us pray for the state of Israel, like a religious obligation. That maybe they just recently we saw Premier Tayodele, or Israel was saying in congregation that, you see what they are doing in Palestine. Why did they have to go and bomb Iran? Why are you people deceived that the Israel of today is the same Israelite you are,
those are the few Christians that know about this. One of such people are also the likes of Reno Mokri and the likes of FFK, Fem Fanjari. Okay. So, but besides the likes of these few Christians, most Christians do not even learn to learn to that part of the knowledge, to the extent of understanding what is actually happening there. So the general assumption is that, like, if we were never told, we would think Israel is a place. It existed like it is existing today. No, Israel is the name of a person. It only started existing in 1948. So the land there was Palestine. And everybody knows Philistine. So like there's this message that was like a short video, just to make some assumption. It was said Jesus is a Palestinian, because he was birthed on that land.
Okay. So thank you very much again. So well, let's fast forward back to the current. I mean, we just try to look at the historical parts. So let's come back to the present happening in the world. So with the current front and back Israel, one of the big questions I ask myself is, what exactly is the power of these two Zionists, that they were able to control the American government, the American system at large, the European, the Western, you see the German Prime Minister coming out to say Israel has the right to defend itself, when nobody originally went in there with an aggression. They were the one that started this whole thing. And when you were asking question like, why are Israel killing children in Palestine just because they wanted to go and kill for humanitarian aid, and they respond by a prime minister of a country as big as German and co. Maybe that no, the Israel has to defend itself from them. Who is talking about Hamas? Where is Hamas? Where they were asking for food? What exactly is Israel holding on to in the world? Like it's in charge of the balls of all the superpowers in the world.
It's an interesting question, really, because as it is right now, Israel with their influence dates back to pre 20th century. So, and that was what led to what brought about the 1948 World War II. Prior to World War II, Israel were, you find Jews all around in Europe, and we must give it to them. They have the brains for commerce, and they can also be mischievous. They have the brain for commerce. So the biggest conglomerates in the world in during those times and now are being owned by these people. Are owned by these people. So what they do is they finance politics, they finance businesses, they finance, so they entrain their influences in several places. So and yeah, talk of America. In the US today, the whole population of the US is about 400 million. However, the Jewish population in the US is about 2%. That is about 8 million. Look at that. But in contrast, in the whole political distribution split, 50% of
the American politicians
are Jews. The remaining 50% is shared by every other race. So their influence is so big. They have the power of finance. They also have the power of politics. So, and that is how you see them spread across everywhere. Even Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister today, has 3 passports. He has a Poland passport, he has an Israeli passport, and he has an American passport. So they have their way of influencing systems to put themselves at a position of advantage whereby they can dictate affairs. So behind the facade of everything you see run, you see a Jew behind it that is influencing something. So that is what is even keeping the Jewish interest in the US today. Because in the US today, most of the financier for politicians under the US democracy are the Jews. So if you don't serve their interest, when they pull their support from you, you will not be able to finance your political ambition. And this is a political ambition that will cost billions of dollars, far more than what we spend in a place like Nigeria. Billions of dollars. So, and America is so big that you have different time zones within a single country. So imagine you trying to be a president or whatever in such a country, how much is going to cost you to do that. So this is how their influence continues, and they've capitalized so much on that influence, and they used it to their advantage. So they use it to toss everyone around in the world.